How can we find the right style of time management? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the Northwoods, talking about how to make your life better one small step at a time. When I was a kid, I had no idea how I was going to organize my tasks. And the short and long of it is, you have to find the system that works for you. And that's exactly what I did. And we're going to talk about a couple of different systems that will help you figure out how you could better organize your time and fit your personality better. The unfortunate thing, I think, about a lot of productivity discussions, whether they're books or podcasts or whatnot, is that everyone tries to tell you, this is how you manage your time. Get up in the morning, bundle everything together, do the same task for 6 hours, focus, have a singular focus, and that way you'll stay in the groove and you'll get more done. The problem with it is that is not how my brain works, and maybe it's not how your brain works, or maybe your brain does work that way, but not exactly. And so the point of it is that you have to find the way that works for you the best. I was just even listening to a podcast yesterday, and I love this podcast and I love the host. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they were like, well, if you listen to my podcast, you probably already do this. You focus for hours and hours and hours on a task. You schedule it ahead of time and you work on it until you get done. That's how you sort of gain momentum at a project. And I thought, oh no, I don't do that at all. So that was kind of where I decided I really wanted to do this podcast, because the important point is that you want to get things done. You don't want to burn out. You want to be able to have enough joy in this, if the joy is the right word, so that you can go back and do this kind of thing again. Have I sat there for 8 hours and knocked out a paper when I was in college? Yeah, but did I like it? Did I enjoy it? Did I hope, boy, I can't wait till I write that next paper again? Or cleaning the house. Gut it out, spend 20 hours, 40 hours cleaning the house until everything is all done, and then I just resent it. The idea is that you want to get into a path where you will do it again, that you will do it successfully, whatever it is you're doing, writing a book, cleaning your house, mowing your lawn, whatever it is you're trying to do. Get through your tasks. And these tasks, systems will help you understand how you can go about it. Now, it seems to me, and maybe there's more, you can tell me in the chat if there's more, but there's kind of two different styles of productivity. So first of all is the singular focus mode, the deep work. Cal Newport wrote a book called Deep Work. The idea is that you focus, you gain momentum, you go deep into a project, you enter a state of distraction-free concentration where the brain can work at high capacity. And it's not about multitasking, it's not about checking emails. You put the phone away, you put the iPad away, and for the next whatever number of hours, that's all I'm doing. I'm going to write and I'm going to focus. And it's great for a mental space where, like, you're a writer, a developer. I know I worked for a software company for 15 years. I know a lot of developers that as soon as you went over to their desk and asked them a question, they were just broken for like an hour. And so then you started feeling bad when you ever went over there and asked them a question. And so I would try to catch them in the lunchroom, which isn't great either because they're just trying to take a break. And then there's, like I said, just people who just need to sort of do a deep dive, solve difficult problems. And the idea in the book, when you talk about the Cal Newport book, is that we have myelin, which is in our brain, and it helps us think faster and deeper the more we practice. So the idea is that if we just keep working at it and we learn to get away from the distractions and we learn to have attention, there's something called attention residue, that every time we switch, the brain leaves a little attention stuck to the last thing we were working at. And so if you get into this deep focus mode, you're able to focus, not lose bits and pieces of your attention, and you stay fully dived into your project. Deep work avoids all of that by staying put into the thing you're at. And like I said, this is great for people who are creative, analytical, technical, writers, programmers, designers. But it's really, and I hate to say it like that, because it is the kind of person who can do this kind of thing. They have the mental clarity, the focus, that kind of attention span to sit in a quiet, controlled environment and knock things out. But that's not everyone, and that is not for everyone. And if you find that hard to sit still, keep your energy flowing, that might not be your system. It can feel painful, mental quicksand, like you're just drowning in this project. The second style, and this one is the way I found and why I was eventually able to create tasks, is a task variety system. And that means that through having variety, working on several tasks throughout a period of time, often in short bursts, maybe even with a timer, you rotate all those tasks and you might be checking emails, writing a report for a while, working on tickets. I work in IT. So I break up my day in that particular way. Sometimes I'm organizing files, sometimes I'm planning a meeting. And rather than having this one deep focus session, I have a playlist of tasks that interest me. I mean, with work, they all have to interest me, but the ones I need to do, and I mix them up so that I always have kind of a cycle in place where I'm working on some things that I don't enjoy, some things that I do enjoy. And so the difference between it is, and I think why it's not favored, is because let's say I'm writing a document, I'm working on a project that I'm working on. Someone has asked me to do a few things, so I leave a little bit of time for people to ask me questions, and then I'm working on tickets. And I, at work, sort of cycle between all of those things, somewhere, in the, kind of 90-minute range. And that way, my interest keeps going, my energy keeps going. And if I feel like my energy is dipping or my interest is dipping, I can switch to the next task, refresh my brain, and then go back to the task that I was kind of struggling with fresh new ideas. It's great use too when we sort of batch maybe similar tasks together, like doing emails all at once or editing documents, but maybe they're multiple documents at a sitting. Now, talk about these podcasts and YouTube channels I have, is that I tend to be of a higher energy on some days. You have to have energy to record video because if you're like, hi, everyone, this is Jill, I'm so tired, it's not going to be engaging. So what I do, and I'm not a technical podcast at this point or video show, but I use a group called Notion and a software piece called Notion. And what Notion allows me to do is have a list, in this case, all my podcasts, each episode, what the topic is about. I have all my notes in there, but I can also organize them into Kanban boards differently. So I have one that is Start for Small Steps. I have one that is Small Steps with Monjero. I have another for Buzz, Blossom, and Squeak, and two more, Small Steps with God and the Bible in Small Steps. So I have those all listed. And so I can sort this same list into multiple ways. So do I want to work on Start with Small Steps because I'm feeling very productivity based today? I can make a Kanban board and show my podcasts and videos by that. Or maybe I feel like recording. Awfully perky today. I would love to do a bunch of recording. I can now list it in a different Kanban board, same data. Now I see which podcasts need to be recorded, edited, published. Now, if I'm having a down day, I'm a little bit tired. Fridays, I tend to be pretty tired because, it's a long week of work. And so I would rather just sit there and edit videos, quieter, just get a bunch of things done and just kind of, play a podcast and have things going there. So I can now batch all of the tasks I have to do and what I feel like doing during that day. That kind of batching helps. Batching at work, like I said, is a little bit different. So maybe, I've mentioned before, I'm not a great writer and it costs a lot of kind of soul energy in me to write. So the idea is if I write, can I batch writing together so I go from easy to more difficult? So I sort of wind myself up, I start with easy emails. I start with easy note-taking that I needed to get documented in my storage program for work. And then I get to the difficult emails that I need to write whenever there's difficult emails to write. And so I'm sort of building myself up, easy tasks at the beginning and then harder tasks towards the end. Or maybe you're different. Maybe you like to take the harder tasks on, knock them out of the park. Eat the frog first is what the phrase is, and get the hard email out of the way first while you're energetic, whatever energy systems you have in your life. And then you do the easy stuff later as you start to tucker out throughout the day. So batching tasks together can make it easier. And instead of doing this deep dive focus, I am going to work on my project for the next 6 hours and knock it out of there. And then the other part of it too is that you can also try to manage things by like a work schedule. I don't want to say work schedule. I want to say energy schedule. So in the mornings, I'm not a morning person, but I do very well with things that need exercise. Now, I'm not a morning person. So how I schedule my day is that, and because I work for California, I have time in the morning because I work California hours when I'm in the central time zone. I have 2 extra hours in the day. Let's put it that way. So I get up and I do physical things. I need to move this from upstairs to downstairs. I need to go to the gym. I need to mow my lawn. Everything physical I try to do in the mornings when my noggin is not quite there. My brain hasn't settled in quite yet. And then I do the physical things. I'm good at that. So I'm also good at like just cleaning things, because like I said, I'm not all there. Then I start to wake up a little bit more and I start to get a little bit more energy. I start to then, take on paying my bills, writing some personal emails. I don't do podcasting in the mornings because there's really not enough time to do it. But I get done, chores that I need to get done. And then work starts. And the same kind of pattern goes, even at work, where I start with reading my emails and doing things that are not that taxing. And then by the time I usually get to, let's say lunchtime, my time, I'm full power. I'm energized, good energy levels, and I'm awake. I'm extroverted. I have energy going at that point. So I schedule my day not so much by task topic like task batching works. I do it by the energy systems that are pulled, that I do more mindless things early on. I do more thinking things in the afternoon. And as I wind up, I'm better at it. And then at the end of the day, when my energy levels start to wane a little bit, it's towards the end of work, I do quiet project work, getting some of my documents written. And so my task management system is a little bit different. I don't batch things together like I do with my podcast, where today I'm recording, today I'm editing, I'm posting them all up to the internet. At work, it is more energy-based and it is more type of energy levels I'm using. So organizing your time in a way that makes sense for you is how you will get things done. Help you stay energized, help you get recharged when you're a little bit tired. Now, the big danger of the second system is that sometimes it might be harder to get things started, that you get distracted with things because you're switching contexts, you're switching projects so often that it may be that mental residue where I work on a project, I'm working on this email to someone who's kind of having problems with this project. And so I wrote the email, and now I'm moving on to the next thing where I'm working on tickets. But part of my brain is still trying to noodle, gosh, how can I reach out to that person? How can I get them back into the project? And so it never quite leaves me. The other problem is that means that I have 5 projects going every day. And so maybe they don't get finished. I start writing a document, and then 2 hours later, I stop writing that document, or 90 minutes later, or something like that. And then I go and I start working on emails. And so everyone's like, hey, Joe, I thought you were working on that document yesterday. Did you get that done? No, I didn't, but I'm going to finish it today. Why? Because I'm spanning it across many days. So I think the danger of it is it makes you look like you're not getting things finished when instead you are getting 5 things finished at the same time, which may not be what your boss has in mind for you to get finished. So I think the key is not which one is better. And like I said, I don't like when podcasts say, you want to know how to organize your life? Do this. And I know that's the way it is. And I know it's how it's on YouTube. And that's, people put the viral topic, get things done, do this. I'm not that person. I'm the person who's trying to give you options so that you can kind of figure out what works for you. So the idea is which style works better for you? Which one gets things done? Are you looking for that deep focus? Do you have the capability of doing that deep focus? Are there different times of the day where you can do deep focus? Or are you a singular focus person because you just can't seem to, get there? It's really mixed, and it's a way for you to fix out, how can I stay engaged, do this repeatedly because I'm going to do these things day after day, and how can I keep myself energized? Now, I mentioned before, I'm someone who has a good amount of ADHD in me, and I found that all these methods, the second style, has helped me get things done. When I was in college and every college professor was telling you just gut it out, sit there for 8 hours and write your paper till it's done. I don't know that the papers were as good as they could have been. I felt terrible. I was drained, bored, overwhelmed, and all of that was kind of crushing me to an extent. But finding my own system of doing it, and then I started wondering, like, does everyone do the same way? Am I just like the only human being who can't do this? Found out that's not true. So the idea is, can you find a system through that to gain some momentum? Whether you're taking one task and gutting it out and doing it so that you can get deep focus, that's my best friend right there. She's very good at that. Interruptions just kill her. She said at one point, I used to interrupt her so often when we were in college that she couldn't even concentrate anymore because she was waiting for the next chance where I was going to interrupt her. So I stopped interrupting her, and I found other ways of kind of gaining some extroverted energy in there, because I didn't realize people were different at that point, I guess, in that way. And so that way, when I started doing task cycling, then it gave me some quick wins, some progress on things. I could keep my energy going. So I'd work on my paper for a little bit, and then I'd go grocery shopping. I'd come back and I'd work on my paper a little bit more, and then I would clean the dorm room. That is exactly what it is. So I think that, too, you have to look at what the people around you are expecting. So if you have a deadline, deep work will give you progress. And it will give you progress, though, on fewer goals. The multiple focus will give you lots of progress on many goals, but maybe you don't finish them in an orderly period of time. Work is a little bit different. How I treat these podcasts are different because I have the flexibility to do what I want. But at work, sometimes I need to get a document out. I have to get an email out. I have to get the next project part of the plan going. And so I have less choice at work. I think we all do. But those are the considerations. What's working best for you? What works best for your bosses? And maybe even have a discussion with your bosses and let them know, I'm just someone who does better when I kind of switch things up a little bit. I'm going to get this document done, but it's going to be Wednesday, not tomorrow, because I need a little time away from it so I can give it fresh eyes. And that helps it. And then the other part of it too, is kind of blending them together. So maybe if you are a person who can do deep work, pick a time. A lot of people who do deep work are morning people. So can you focus in the morning where you can understand what it is you're doing and deep dive? Then in the afternoon, you could maybe do small administrative tasks, send emails, take a quick training you have to accomplish for work, and get those things done. Pay bills, if it's your home life. And then at nighttime, maybe when you're less energized, you're going to do a lot of quick wins with emails and, notes and all those other kinds of things. If you try to break it up in that way, that might help you. So I'm a person that tends to do better with deep focus things at night. And why is that? Everyone I know is watching TV, offline, no longer chit-chatting with me. So I get actually a lot of isolation time at night, and that allows me then to focus because there's no one to chat with, essentially, is the idea. So the idea is that you could do a mixture of both. If you are looking for doing different types of deep work methods, what you can do are time block calendars. And time block calendars are where you kind of come up with a plan for your week. So Monday, I go to the gym later in the day, so I have the morning free. I'm going to mow my lawn right there. But on Tuesday, I have some appointments to do, so I'm going to do some quick chores, pay some bills, and get things done on Tuesday morning. And what you do is you create a calendar where you just block off big pieces of time for your day. If I'm at work and on Tuesday, basically California morning until California lunch, tons of meetings in there. Time block, meetings. Nothing else is going to get done. So what you do is you sort of plan your life in these big blocks of time. That's time blocking method. And you can I use Fantastical, because you can have multiple calendars and then they can all sort of live together. I can view it and see what my time blocking time is set. It's nice too, because you can set up a time block session for things you forget to do. Oh, right up there. That's when I'm going to exercise. I've blocked off time to exercise. Oh, here time at night. I'm going to take some quiet time to pray, because honestly, I sort of forget to pray and I crawl into bed and then I pray and then I just fall asleep. So I'm going to block some time off for that. By using the time blocking method, I have found some success with that. The other one is called the Pomodoro technique. And the idea behind that is you're going to set a timer and say, I am going to focus on this very difficult project I'm working on at work until this timer goes off. And it could be a digital timer. The idea of that is then you can get focus. You're granting yourself this amount of time and it will be over with. I tend to use the Pomodoro technique when I'm trying to do something I really don't like. So we talked about it before. I don't like yard work. I hate mowing. I hate yard work. So what I do is I just tell myself, Jill, for the next 25 minutes, I want you to go in the backyard and chop down everything that's a weed or a tree growing in a place it shouldn't go. If you do that enough times, eventually you get your work done. Instead of me doing what I used to do, which was to go out in my backyard for 4 hours and try to gut it out. And then it just made me resent it. And then I just hated those times. So the Pomodoro method is basically you sort of setting aside this time. I am working on this. And maybe if you are at work, what some people do is they schedule their work calendars and say, I am blocking off 2 hours here so that I can work on this very tricky technical document I'm trying to write. Put it in your calendar, put your time as busy. People will see you on Teams and other chat apps as busy at that time. So it gives you a little bit of time. And then there's also focus apps. And like I said, not a technical podcast, but if you're an Apple phone user, you can set up focus modes where during this time and this time, Teams can bother me, but during this time and this time, I want quiet time. I don't know if your work allows for that, but you can do that. Another technique, like I said, are Kanban boards. And the reason I like Kanban boards, you can make them in Trello, you can make them in Notion, you can also use Loop and some other types of applications. But the idea is that you have a list of things to do, like I have a list of podcasts. I have podcasts, 7 of them every week, and I need to record them, edit them, post them, and write them, so there's basically 4. And then the 5th category is complete. And so I basically am able to create these Kanban boards and sort them in different ways. Do I feel like working with Start with Small Steps today? Am I feeling really spiritual and biblical right now? Maybe I'm going to work on the Bible in small steps because I'm feeling it. I can sort it this way or that way. Or I'm feeling very perky. It's time for me to record podcasts like I did just now. So that's the idea. Then having theme hours that may be on Sunday afternoon, you go to church and then you come home and you say, for the next 2 hours, my theme of the day is improving my house. And so you do chores that will make your house better. You clean the weeds in the yard, you clean the kitchen, whatever it is, that kind of themed hour. And that will help you that way. And then the other thing, and the last way that I do tasks, is I create what I consider to be a task playlist. It's my 5-ish tasks that I can rotate through when I'm going to do. So one task is going outside and working in my yard. Another one is cleaning the house. Another one is exercise and health goals. So maybe I will try a new recipe. Maybe I'll work out in my gym. Then the 4th big area in my personal life is obviously working on these videos and podcasts. And then the last one is learning time. I spend a good amount of time learning new things. I'm right now working on new software, which I did not learn that software yet, that I'm going to switch to record these videos. So I spent a good chunk of time on Sunday nights where it's nice and quiet and all my friends are watching TV to learn software so that I can improve my processes. And that way I have this task playlist. And anytime I'm sitting there wondering, gosh, what should I do now? I have these 5 things, these 5 areas that I know that I'm supposed to do. So here in the end, that's what it is. Figure out your natural rhythm. Figure out where you feel more energized, more zoomed in on the things that you need to do, more alive. Do you bounce around and you do better when you bounce around, or do you better when you focus on a single item? Try both styles. That's my challenge to you. Try both styles and figure out where you feel more comfortable. Are you more comfortable when you focus on something for a good long period of time? Or do you like it when you bounce around and sort of have a task playlist? Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Please remember that you can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. Please be aware that I do own still, Small Steps Pod. And there are some places that have that email on it. Right now, it's having a certificate problem. The emails bounce back. Jill@startwithsmallsteps.com is my email. You can email me there. You can put comments in the chat if you're watching this on YouTube. And go out there with your method of what energizes you and gets you to the next step forward.